Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the second video of our Rebel Clash set review.
Oh, hello.
The first video was all the Pokemon, and this video will be much shorter because it is just the trainers for the Rebel Clash set review. Today I'm going to be joined again by Tony and Val. Tony and Val, if you want to quickly say hi and just remind folks who you are.
Hey, so I'm Val. Again, I have been playing casually maybe about 2 years. Go to regionals for fun, really, just to hang out with these guys. And I like coin flips and I like fun single prize decks.
Hey, this is Tony. I met these guys during when I first played for about a year now in casual play. Was trying to turn competitive until the coronavirus, but yeah, happy to do this.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to have y'all. These are some awesome local NYC folks, so we are all deep in the quarantine over here. But yeah, I guess we could just jump into the trainers. So the first trainer that we are going to talk about today is actually I have it on here as Full Bucket, so I will get rid of that one. Let's move over to Full Bucket. This trainer is you can search your deck for 2 water energy and put them in your hand. Very straightforward. Val, how do you feel about Full Bucket?
Totally busted. You don't have to discard anything, so it's even better than some of these fire supports we already have.
Yeah. Tony?
If Pep was here, he would be jumping up his seat right now because it's water decks, golden dream. Full bucket, busted for sure.
Yeah, I'm in the camp of y'all busted. Like, if Frostmoth was ever going to be a thing, this is the card that it needed. And it's like finally some energy style other than fire gets direct search like this. Definitely needed. So all busted all day on Full Bucket. The next item card is going to be Burning Scarf. This is a tool card. And this tool card says if the fire Pokemon this card is attached to is your active and it is damaged by an opponent's attack, the attacking Pokemon is burned. So, basically is if you're going to hit me, you're going to get burned in the process. Tony, what do you think about Burning Scarf?
I think it's good that we're having more useful tools. I think for me, it's degenerate, but not in a bad way. I do think it's specific. Obviously this pairs well with the Arcanine card. It's tricky to get around, right? Because burn is still 2 damage counters that you don't want to deal with. So I think it's a decent card. I don't think it's going to, see as some of the other cards we'll see, a must-have in your deck. But I think, a couple fire decks might play around with it. Yeah.
How about you, Val?
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think to add on to this, I think for sure we're going to have some of my favorite things, single prizer decks, fire decks, throwing this in so they can hit all those big numbers. Now, Shrine is basically useless, so I think this will really help us get there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually. This basically helps you hit some numbers a little bit more easily because most fire decks, the numbers they hit are like, at least the big hit, the heavy hitting ones are like in the 50s. They go by 50 counts. And that means for so many Pokemon, you're 10, 20, 30 damage short. So something like this, which adds 2 damage counters between turns, could be a huge deal for those decks. So assuming that Jirachi doesn't bother with a skateboard in the future because of Galar Mine and maybe a skateboard gets rotated, something like this could maybe take its place. Okay, next trainer card we have, I think this one is the one that I started with, a Scoop Up Net. So Scoop Up Net basically says you can pick a Pokemon that is not a V or a GX off of the field and put it into your hand. You discard all cards attached to that Pokemon. It's Val, what are you thinking about Scoop Up Net here?
We're laughing because this is not balanced, right? This is so busted.
No.
When is this getting banned?
Yes, this is when are you banning this TPC? Just tell me now.
I mean, I can tell you it's probably gonna get banned and expanded.
Yeah, the fact that you
sure.
don't pick up EXs,
Yeah.
like, okay, throw down Shaman, pick it up, throw down Shaman. Is that something you can do?
Oh my
With
god,
this
Elder
card.
Goss V?
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah. You would have to
Can't
really
do
look
it.
and see if... Well, you can't do it with Eldegoss V because it has no V cards.
But you can do it with the Shaman and just spam the crap out of it.
Yeah, and like, does Shaman have the... Does the card text read once during your turn, or is it just like when you play this?
I think it's when you play it, because I don't think it has a restriction like the Denning.
Oh my gosh, that is so broken.
Yeah, there are a lot of turbo expanded decks who play more than one Shaman on turn 1 or turn 2.
Yeah.
So
Yep, I just checked. Setup is as much as you like, so it doesn't have the restriction like the Denning.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is 100% broken.
Okay.
No coin flip. You just
Ugh.
yank it off the field. I think Jirachi decks are going to see a lot of this though. And I actually, when I was playing against Celio's network, he was able to turn 1 against the Snom with his Dragapult. He was able to, Zigzagoon, put it down, put a damage counter on it, scoop up net, put another damage counter on it, poke me for 30. It was such a filthy turn 1 play.
Oh man, that's just, yeah, the Zigzagoon deck will benefit from this a lot, right? And it'll be interesting. I think a couple other cards that maybe like the single prizers that we're not thinking of will really benefit from this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like stuff like, if any of those single prizes that we talked about yesterday have coming into play effects, yeah, absolutely just wrecks this.
Oh man. All right. Yep. Can't wait for this new set.
countdown to ban.
Yes,
I know,
we
right?
just put a timer in the bottom. All right, so this next card is an interesting one. It's Nugget. This card, play this card when you draw it from your deck at the start of your turn, before putting it into your hand. So it's an interesting note that they sort of put that as like a mechanic, like before it even goes into your hand. So ostensibly, if you have item lock decks, or if you have like Gengar Mimikyu that says you can't play like Horror House GX, this would still activate regardless. Because it never actually goes into your hand. It's just when you draw it, it's an on-draw effect. So this one lets you draw 3 cards. I didn't actually say what it does, but it lets you draw 3 cards when you start your turn, basically. Tony, how are you feeling about this card?
I think it's trash. I don't get it. I think it's too complicated. I think it's one of those cards that, some person is going to figure out how to do it, right? And a very niche deck where you could consistently, get the nugget out. But to me, it's like a poopy nugget. It's like a little poop of a nugget card. The conditions are weird. I put trash, but I'm sure someone brilliant will figure out a way where you can figure out some complicated mechanism to make this consistent. But for me, I don't see it yet.
Yeah, Val, how are you feeling?
Sounds like a bad bowel movement.
Poopy nugget.
It's a poopy nugget.
Needs more fiber kind of deal.
I play poop nugget.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It seems a bit like something you throw into a theme deck. How do we teach kids how to play? And this mechanic of, not only just before putting it into your hand, you play it is, I think, a good anti-cheat mechanism too, right? So you're not just like, oh, look, I produced this nugget out of my hand.
Yeah.
I think as we're all becoming more aware of that kind of thing happening at regionals and tournaments. Let's even see if this gets any play. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think I'll put it in trash for now because, look, I appreciate the mechanic. It's a unique mechanic that they're really experimenting with, and I actually I hope they do more cards like this. Because
more poop cards.
Well, no, I think more cards like this because you print an Orangaroo, right? That lets you put a card on the top of your deck.
Right.
So if you're running a deck that doesn't need to do anything after you put the card on top of your deck, like Zacian, you usually want to put an energy there so you draw into it, right? But for lots of other decks, you're like, well, I'll put something on there for next turn. But if you're playing a few of these, this is like can make that more of a turbo style deck. And the reason I hope they print more like this, because I don't know, like imagine if it's like play this card when you draw it, and instead of drawing 3, it's a, you know, search your deck for 2 energies and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, right? Like that would be like, you know, those types of weird effects that have strange conditions to meet, but are very rewarding when you meet them. I think it breeds like some sort of creativity in players to like build decks around that. So right. I think it's trash now. I agree with you. Because it feels like if this is a one of mechanic, it feels like missing Clover, right? Where you have to get 4 of them and you just take an extra prize, and right. You know, you initially think, oh, this is amazing. And then you're like, I'm never going to have all 4 of these in my hand.
You know, Sean, I think what's missing is a supporter, or not a supporter card, but like an item card that lets you search out for items. Because we currently don't have one of those, right? We only have one for Stadium, and we have one for tool cards, but we don't have one to search out general items. So I think that to me is what the biggest hole in all this. Because if you have that, then yes, I think the engine is you know, a little bit more smooth. But without that, I still think, you know, someone really creative would have to figure that out.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like we are getting a reprint of a supporter Scylla, which we'll talk about in a bit. Like that does let you go get any trainer card, one, but that seems like a pretty trash way to use your supporter for the turn.
That's like playing, that's like playing Hapu, right? Draw 3.
It's like, I'm gonna play a How or a Hop or whatever, a terrible supporter, but I'm not gonna get to use it now. I'm gonna complicate it by putting it on top of my deck.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, maybe, you know, here's the thing. I think the only other supporter that lets you draw items, which is actually useful, is Volcaner, which we are letting go of soon. You know, I expect it to rotate out next. So maybe an electric deck, but yeah, big question mark. Trash.
Yeah, I think we'll put it in trash for now. That's fair. All right, the next card we got is a reprint. It is Tool Scrapper. This one says discard up to 2 Pokemon tool cards from either player's Pokemon, yourself or your opponent. Maybe there'd be reasons to discard it from your own, like you have a better tool and you are sad that you had to attach something earlier. But yeah, Val, what do you think about Tool Scrapper being reprinted?
Oh, I'm so happy. So busted, so excited to finally be able to remove tools. This is going to be so great in, I think, in a lot of these decks where you really want to take something off, like say from Garbatoxin, for example, you know? Yeah,
I think, like Tony, how are you feeling about Tool Scrapper?
Same way as Val. I think it's the right card to reprint. I'm glad they didn't do Field Blower. Because I think Tool Scrapper is like the right balance. You know, it's not any kind of Stadium or like tool, so it's the right balance. I think it's so needed right now. I'm interested to see if Faba's going to go down and play. It's kind of like Faba's been kind of like that wild stock card that no one played and everyone all of a sudden played, and now with Tool Scrapper, it's probably going to go down a bit. But yeah, glad to see Tool Scrapper come out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Faba was really there to remove tools and maybe special energy, but not really. But yeah, you have resetting whole Mars Shadow for stadiums. Now you got Tool Scrapper for tools. So really the only thing that Faba does that you don't have another answer for is special energy. At which point it's like, well, I mean, maybe if the horror energy we talk about is actually really good, I could maybe see a use for Faba still, but nah. All right, so I put that in the busted camp. And I think the last item card we're going to talk about is this tool card, Cursed Shovel. This tool card said, if this Pokemon this tool is attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. So, yeah, Tony, how are you feeling about Cursed Shovel?
Oh, I think you have to look at Cursed Shovel in tangent with what is it? Sandy Palossand, right? And in Palossand, the ability allows it, or if it's, let's see.
If it has it attached, you discard the top 3 cards.
So I think it's absolutely not, I would never play this card because it's not my style. However, I think for those who are really into the middle decks or into that style of game, this is a great tool to have. So in that way, it's, personally to me, it's meh, but for some people it would be busted because that it fits well into their play style. So I wouldn't be surprised to see in a bunch of decks in that style.
Yeah, Val, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I agree. This is, again, coupled with that Palossand, that's perfect for a new mill deck archetype.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I think you can use this in any mill deck archetype, right? Like, go back to Cinccino Mill. Cinccino Mill doesn't run any sort of item tool cards, really. And so something like this, you could even throw this onto a Lily's Pokédoll. So that, if you put this on Pokédolls, so you're not even giving up a prize, and they're milling 2 cards off the top of their deck just to get rid of this Pokédoll, that's pretty broken of a combo.
Oh, that's so annoying. Oh, that's so annoying.
That's mean-spirited. Why would you do that?
Yeah. No. Well, there you go, Sandy. That's fits the profile. Cursed shovel.
Yeah. So I'm putting it in the degenerate camp because I think obviously this is what this card was printed to be, degenerate.
Right.
All right, let's get into some supporters now. Our first supporter that we are gonna talk about, let me pull it up here, is going to be Professor Sonia. I have a very low res version of this on the video because for whatever reason, there's not a higher res version out there. But Professor Sonia says, search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon or 2 basic energy, and you put them in your hand and shuffle your deck. Val, how are you feeling about Professor Sonia here?
I think this is going to be either really great or really kind of meh for the right player. A lot of these cards where you have 2 options, I love the flexibility in them. Say like Tate and Liza is wonderful. But even then, I feel like they see niche play. So I'm not really sure how this one's going to shake out.
Yeah. Tony, how do you feel?
I agree with Val. I think this is meh. I think it's a nice vanilla card. It is as vanilla as you're going to get. It's not a must-have. I think certain decks might prefer this because of the way their deck is building. They may put 1 or 2 of it in just to balance out or for consistency's sake. But I don't think it's a must-have. I think it's pretty vanilla. It's kind of like Tate and Liza. Sometimes you might use it. It has some quirks to it, but very straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree because this card, I'm trying to think of what decks it makes sense for, right? It's a better Pokemon fan club, right? Just straight up, they might as well delete Pokemon fan club from the roster of cards because this is just a better one of those.
Right. But it's a decent card for ADP,
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can get up to 2 basic Pokemon or up to 2 basic energy, so it's not bad. I think if you have a deck that doesn't have a ton of additional Pokemon search and or energy search, I'm thinking like metal, fighting, that's probably it. Metal and fighting. I'm trying to think of any other archetypes that would really benefit from this, but maybe darkness. I don't think darkness really has much in the way of supporters, so this might be good for that archetype, but even then you're looking at it thinking to yourself, well, but is it better than a Professor's Research, right? Is it better than a Marnie? That I think is where something like this really is that's what it's competing against. It's okay, well, I can get 2 of a specific thing, or I can just see 7 completely new cards and hope I find a Quick Ball or a Pokemon Communication or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put it in the meh camp. I agree. I think it, has potential, but limited use. So this next supporter is one I mentioned earlier. We got Scylla back. Scylla lets you search your deck for a trainer card, reveal it, put it in your hand. It is a kind of like a mini greens exploration. So Tony, we'll start with you. How do you feel about Scylla?
So this is interesting, right? They decided to reprint Scylla, and I don't know. I mean, for now it's meh. You know, I can see it. Is it just going to be a one-off, right? I remember when I played Expanded, I usually have like one-off of a Scylla when I did the Guardian deck. But I use all the better supporters just for, that little extra consistency when you just needed that one card, right? So that's my question for Scylla. Is it going to just be that one-off that someone might put in just for that extra consistency in their deck? Or does Scylla have some more potential that we're not seeing, right? Is it the greens version for an ability deck? Right now, I don't see it, but it's mad to me. But it's good to have in your binder and know that you can potentially build something with it.
Yeah. Val, how are you feeling?
I agree with what Tony's saying. It does feel almost like, situational. Why you would only use it again if you have abilities in play. Say you really need your welder next turn or something. That's when maybe you would use Scylla. I honestly think though that this card is going to be the collector card because everyone loves Scylla.
Yeah.
So let's see how much the full art goes for.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. Like Scylla as a collector card, like awesome card. It's the same reason that something like Lily is still high value, even though it never sees play anymore. But for me, I think Scylla is interesting. I'm playing around with it in decks where I have a stage 2 and I want to find my rare candy.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I think like a Rillaboom deck might benefit from a Scylla because you don't want to turbo through your deck because you want to keep your energy in deck, right? You're hesitant to put Dedennes on board, and so maybe a Rillaboom deck can play this. Maybe Whimsicott GX could play this to go just grab your rare candy for Porygon Z. I think there's maybe a couple of decks that could play it, but yeah, it's very specific. Like you have to be running some real niche deck.
I mean, the more you talk about it, Sean, I do think it's actually better than Bill's analysis, right? So Bill's analysis was a pretty bad card that sometimes we have to put in. Like search 7 for 2 items. And I think Scylla at least will replace Bill and be a one up to that.
Yeah, I agree. Because you can go get exactly what you want, which is Bill's is like I hope I get what I'm looking for.
Exactly. Right.
All right. Well, let's go to the next supporter. We got Milo here, who is a new trainer that we got in the Sword and Shield block. Milo says discard 2 cards from your hand, then draw twice as many cards as you discarded. So it's basically, I don't know why you would ever play this to draw 2, but it's a draw 2 or draw 4, basically. So Tony, how are you feeling about Milo here?
So Milo was my least favorite. Was a gym. He shouldn't have been a gym leader, but he was my least favorite gym leader in the game, and he was probably my least favorite supporter card. The only semi-niche use of this card is, if you're playing from the discard. So if your deck is all about discarding and pulling cards from your discard, like we've seen in some of the other things that got revealed in the set, I can maybe see it. But honestly, I rather play. I forgot the one where you can look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and you grab 2, and then the rest gets discarded.
Oh yeah.
To me, that's
Hapu.
Yeah.
Hapu. Yeah. To me, Hapu's a better. Like this, trash for me.
Yeah. Okay. Val, how you feeling about Milo?
So this, I think, is also similar to Sightseer from sets past. And even Sightseer, everyone's super excited about it upon launch, and it didn't do much. Didn't really go anywhere. Even in the Ganondorf decks, it was most successful. But it didn't do much. So this has almost the same exact flexibility, and it's still not great.
Yeah. I'm in y'all's camp. I'm putting it in trash. I just think you compare this to everything else that you could do with this, and it's like I can draw 4. And unless I really want to discard and not get rid of the rest of my hand, like that's the only situation where it matters, right? Is like I need to keep most of my hand or some of my hand, but I need to discard and I need to see more cards. Like it's so situational.
Wouldn't you rather play Cynthia and Caitlyn then?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Cynthia and Caitlyn is a discard 1, draw 3, get a supporter back. You're absolutely right. It is it's almost a straight up better version of this card. Trash.
Worst stadium gym leader, worst card ever.
Yeah, no.
So sad.
You've convinced me even more how much trash this is. Okay, next supporter. We have Oleana, I think is how you would pronounce this. This card.
Okay, yeah.
Oleana, or Olina, maybe, but yeah, I don't know.
It's Oleana, probably for Oleander.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Oleana, discard 2 cards from your hand in order to play the card. So it has a interesting mechanic in order to even play it. But once you do that, your opponent reveals their hand and you choose a trainer card you find there and put it at the bottom of their deck. So Tony, how you feeling about Oleana here?
So me personally, I would never play this card. However, I don't play the style, so I will look to the mill people. Like, do you actually play this card, or the stall decks? There might be potential there. Yeah, so that's where my question is at. It's definitely degenerate, for sure. And the question is, for the stall types of decks, does this have value? At minimum, at least they know it's there, that they can play around with it.
Yeah. Val, how are you feeling about this?
I feel the same. Quite degenerate. And I think, stall decks and control decks are going to have a lot of fun with Oleana.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a degenerate card. I think the only way this card makes sense, though, is if you also play something like Lavender Town, which lets you look at your opponent's hand first. Because the last thing you want to do is play this card, look at your opponent's hand, and there's nothing there of value to put on the bottom, right? That's a huge downside to this card, is it could be a complete waste. But I think if you're playing a stall archetype, or even like a control archetype where you're also playing something like Surge, you could Surge, look at their hand with Lavender Town, see if they have like a research or something to get out of it, use this card, put the research on the bottom, then Jesse and James them. Like that, I think that gets into like brutal territory. So
I think, yeah, it's an extra tool for those folks to have, and the question is it, do you use it with Jesse and James, or is Jesse, you might as well just double up on Jesse James. So that's the question. True. But yeah, something I don't want to see. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. All right. Now this next supporter is our second to the last supporter, I believe. This one is Dan. I just love the basic name. It's just, hey, this is Dan. You draw 2 cards, then you play rock, paper, scissors with your opponent, and if you win, you draw 2 more cards. So it's
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
What the heck?
It's so gimmicky.
Oh
I love it. It's
God.
like, you can't lose. You still get 2 cards. You play rock, paper, scissors, extra fun, and then you win. You get 2 more cards. It's great. So I want to play this with Oranguru, Sage's Riddle, and Blaine's Quiz Show, and just do a super fun, crazy deck.
Yes. Tony, how are you feeling about this?
Oh my God. It is, yeah, I'm like, if someone makes me do this, I don't know whether I would play or just punch him in the face. But
you can't touch a lady, Tony.
I can't, so value would win. I would probably always be rock, and I would probably just put the fist in their face. But if you want to have fun, and you want to play and you have fun, I say go all in. I say play this card. I say play the Pimpicue, or whatever it's called, that water Pokemon where it attacks us, rock, paper, scissors, and go all in, Yeah. So personally, I think it's trash, but I think it's fun trash. It's like secretly you like to play with it. So that's where I put it.
I'm going to put it between busted and trash. I agree that this is not a competitive card, but you know that the pre-release kits are going to be chock full of Dan. And honestly, that's the kind of card that makes, when you go to a pre-release, it makes the whole event more fun because you're like, it's a game within a game. I agree with you, Val. I want to build a deck as well that is like Blaine's Quiz Show, Sage's Riddle, Dan, like all the crazy nonsense all in one deck. Yeah.
And then beware, just so we can throw our opponents across the room.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, back to competitive land on the next supporter. We have Boss's Order, Giovanni here, just looking fierce. Boss's Order is you can choose one of your opponent's benched Pokemon and switch it with their active. It is basically, I believe, Lysander. This is the spiritual successor to that card, I believe. So, Val, how are you feeling about Boss's Order here?
Just as busted, just as degenerate as Lysander. I'm kind of comparing it to Guzma, where you get the additional switch. I don't know if, personally, I love it more or less, but we're definitely going to see tons of play in this. Kind of scared. We'll see. Yeah,
Tony, how you feeling?
I would say it's probably the most influential card in the entire deck or set. Both items, supporters, Pokemon, it's the most influential. It is what it is. It's going to change everyone's style and strategy, which is great. A little more. We haven't had good gusting cards in a while. So, get best away.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. This is the card that puts us back into an era where you go into those late turns and you're like, do you have a Boss's Order in hand? Okay, I scoop. Like, you're basically sad that you don't even finish games because all your opponent has to do is show you Boss's Order, and that's it. Which, honestly, sometimes it makes me a little sad in those types of games because, yeah, it changes the game completely. But you print this with Eldegoss V and so, yeah, what are you going to do? So, yeah, if anyone out there is watching, buy a playset of Boss's Order. First thing, because prices are only going to go up. All right, that's all the trainers, all the supporters, I should say. Now we can go into the stadium cards. The first stadium card we're going to talk about is going to be Turffield Stadium. Turffield Stadium, once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a Grass Evolution Pokemon, reveal it, put it into their hand. And then you shuffle your deck up. So, Tony, how you feeling about Turffield Stadium?
As a guy who's been trying to bring Resurrect Grass, I think this is a good card. I don't think it's busted by any means. I think it's more in the degenerate or meh. But what it does allow you to do is, if you want to play Rillaboom, but you don't want to play Alolan Executor, this gives you an option, right? So you can get your basic Grookey out, you can get your rare candy, and then you can use this stadium to kind of get your Rillaboom to evolve it. So there's kind of a debate because some people don't like playing the Alolan Executor with the Rillaboom, not because of the benefit of getting your Pokemon evolved so quickly, but it's an okay card, right? And so this gives the option to forgo that route and try to do the more rare candy route and be a little bit more consistent. So I think for grass players, it's a nice option. We'll see how good it really is. It's not as good as some of the previous grass stadium cards, which used to be really busted. So this, nice. We'll see what happens.
Yep. Val, how you feeling about Turffield?
I think this is going to be absolutely a staple in any grass evolution deck, obviously. And I was just thinking about Expanded, and I could definitely see this being worked into a Vespiquen deck, which is, one of the big archetypes there.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'll put it in the mech camp because it's so specific. You know what I mean? I don't think it, like Water Bucket has Water has all this other support in Frostmoth, etc., that makes Water Bucket busted. But this is like, about as busted as a stadium can get right now for grass, but that's like, so I'll put it in the mech camp, but that's why I think between this and Scylla, That's exactly what I'm trying to do, Tony, is figure out how to make a Rillaboom VMAX deck. And so, yeah, how do you get your Rillaboom out without a Lowland Executor, like Rowlet and Lowland Executor? And yeah, you just Turf Field, Scylla for your rare candy, and there you go. You're good to go. So that's the combo. I think that's the combo you're looking at in many situations. So yeah, that's what I'm excited to try. All right, next stadium here, we have got Training Court. Training Court is an interesting stadium. It's like a reverse Viridian, kind of. Once during each player's turn, that player may choose a basic energy from their discard and put it into their hand. So yeah, Val, how are you feeling about Training Court?
This is exciting for all those cards that, say fire attackers where you're discarding your energy. I think this is going to be great. Very excited for this card. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any specific decks, but I do know that this will see lots of play.
All right, Tony.
I share similar sentiments. I think it's a good stadium card, no doubt. I think it's one of those cards that anyone can use, and in a way, that's what makes it not busted. Because I think it's a matter of, oh, this is the second stadium card. If I have extra space, I will put it in. I think Malamar decks are still going to use Viridian Forest, most likely. So this is your second option stadium card if you have space. It doesn't hurt. It's nice to have. Sure, it benefits your opponent, but it's a pretty good card. I just don't think it's the first stadium card you choose. It's your second. And that's why I have it between meh and busted, but solid card.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's pretty plain. It's pretty vanilla, right? It's like, instead of getting an energy from your deck, you get it from the discard. I think the only places this makes sense, you're right, is like if you're sitting there with like, I have space for stadiums. I know I should put more in, but I don't know what to play. So like maybe Lightning could see this coming into play, because Lightning doesn't have, like, they have Tapu Koko, Prism, which is fine. But outside of that, there's not really a lot of Lightning recovery. But Lightning archetypes only really ever play, like currently at least, they're really only playing like Thunder Mountain and maybe one other random stadium. But yeah, for a deck like that that knows they need to still participate in the stadium wars, like this is not a terrible stadium to add in. All right. Yeah. So last stadium of the bunch, we have Galar Mine. Galar Mine, basically, it increases the retreat cost of both active Pokemon by 2. Pretty straightforward here. Tony, how you feeling about this Galar Mine?
I think this is the best stadium of the bunch. I think it's closest to busted. What happens to Jirachi? I think that's all you have to ask. It really kind of affects the game state with that.
Yeah. Val, how are you feeling about Galar Mine here?
I agree. It's another nasty card. Definitely degenerate. And I think in tandem with all the other cards that we've spoken to in the past, those Pokemon that rely on increased retreat costs for their attacks, this is where it's all going to come from and going to happen.
Yeah, I could even see, like, if you think about like Green's decks, how they were kind of built to be a little control-y sometimes with all these power plants, etc. I think you could forego the power plants if you feel like people are going to play less Dedenne, or if it's less relevant because you have something like Research now. But you put all these in, and then you put in like Tool Scrappers, and you put in Crushing Hammers and stuff like that. And man, that's a pretty degenerate style deck. But yeah, I agree, it's busted. It's a great stadium in my opinion. So yeah.
I think most of my decks right now either play 2 or 3 switches regardless of the deck. And now I feel like with this card, it's you flirting with 4 switches now.
Oh yeah, no, I basically run 4 switches in almost every deck now, because when I'm testing this stuff, it's like, yeah, Galar Mines are tough. Tool Scrappers, they could just get rid of your skateboards on Jirachi, your air balloons. Yeah, and like most of your Pokemon that are going to be in the active are not scoop up nettable, right? So it's tough. All right, so that is all of the stadiums. All we have left, we've got 4 energies, 4 special energies here. So let's start with the spiritual successor, if not exact, to double colorless, Twin Energy. Twin Energy gives 2 energy to a Pokemon only if it is a non-V or non-GX Pokemon. Now this does work on EX, so that's pretty crazy. But you can still technically attach it to a V or a GX and it'll just be 1 energy. But yeah, Val, how are you feeling about Twin Energy here?
I can already hear people screaming about this being so similar to DCE. So definitely busted, degenerate. Everyone already hates it. It isn't even out yet.
Yep. Tony, how you feeling?
You know what? Pokemon have made really bad decisions, such as Milo and Poop Nugget. Those are 2 examples of some really bad decisions, but I really appreciate that they created Twin Energy because I think double colorless would just really make things too busted for V and GX. And this gives our little one prizers a chance, you know? And so I appreciate that they didn't make it a universal double colorless. I think it's the right balance. It makes things interesting. It's a nice busted, but not too busted of a card. So yay, Pokemon. You did one thing right, and that was Twin Energy.
No, you're absolutely.
The problem, though,
they rebalanced it. Oh, go ahead.
You gotta consider, though, now in Expanded, you can play DCE and Twin Energy in the same deck, especially if you're running an EX heavy deck.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, I think that's the one thing they might have to errata or like ban in some way of like,
For sure.
You can either play 4 double colorless or 4 Twin Energy, but not 4 of each. That actually might be something they have to put in because that's gross otherwise.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
All right, so next energy here, we have one of the new mechanic style energy. You have Speed Lightning energy. This energy, it provides 1 lightning energy. It's a special energy, but when you attach it from your hand to a lightning Pokemon, you draw 2 cards. So yeah, Val, how are you feeling about this Speed Lightning energy?
Super situational, meh, honestly.
Okay. I mean, granted, it's only on.
It's gimmicky.
Yes,
it really is. It's super gimmicky for what it is.
All right, Tony, how are you feeling about this?
I have a question. So right now it's a special energy. It's a lightning special energy. So a lot of times my question is, does it count on certain cards that will play this? So Tapu Koko says, you can attach it.
It does not. You don't get the extra draw. You don't get the extra draw when you attach it with Tapu Koko Prism because it says here you have to attach it from your hand.
Oh, so it does not work with Tapu Koko.
You can get it back with Tapu Koko because Tapu Koko doesn't specify special energy or basic. It just says lightning energy. But
so if this is in your discard and you play Tapu Koko, you can attach it to your Pokemon.
Yes, but you can't draw the 2 cards because of that.
It's nice. Okay. All right. I think you will see some of it in lightning decks because it doesn't hurt. It benefits some. Is the benefit great? Yeah, it's okay. So I think it's degenerate. I don't think it makes lightning deck unstoppable, but it benefits. It will help them out.
Okay. I mean, I can give you my opinion. I've played around with this a little bit, played against it, and I've played with it a little bit. This card, I can tell you from experience currently, at least, it's pretty crazy. Because like you're thinking like, okay, I'm a lightning deck. I'm already playing Dedenne probably. So I have a Bolton deck that I'm really working with right now. And I basically draw through my deck in 4 turns. It's insane.
Kidding me? Wow.
It's insane. This energy plus Dedenne, I'm throwing Acrobikes in there. I've got Research. I have E-Radar. Like it's like in certain decks, like using that, like you think Oranguru is a good card to put on your bench. This is better than a bench space Oranguru that lets you draw the top card of your deck. And it's your energy for the turn. Like it's so good. So I personally, like, I'm going to put it between Man and Busted, only because, like, it is so specific to lightning Pokemon. We did check this. You can only draw when it is attached to a lightning. You can attach it to any Pokemon you want, but you only get the extra draw power if it's attached to a lightning type Pokemon. So Mewtwo does not get to take advantage of this extra draw.
Right, got it.
So that's
okay, but
yeah,
if it's lightning style right now, right? So nice and fast. So I can see it being really annoying.
yeah. Well, okay, we'll move on to the next one. Speaking of annoying, the next energy is Horror Psychic Energy. This special energy is provides a psychic, and with the psychic Pokemon that it's attached to, if it is your active and it is damaged by an opponent's attack, you put 2 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So, Tony, how are you feeling about this Horror Psychic Energy?
Let me ask you this. This is probably in playing with,
Dragon Bolt.
thinking about, Dragon Bolt and all the other psychic cards that came out. So, yeah, this is also an annoying card. It's making Psychic the most annoying type right now. It's a good card. It's a good card, man. There's no other way to put it. Even Malamar decks wouldn't mind this too, right? So spread that damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you combine it with spell tags already.
Oh yeah.
So annoying, so degenerate.
Yeah, I'm going to put this in degenerate camp. It's a great card. It is definitely a card though that you see it on your opponent. I think this card is like one of the only reasons Faba might still see play at all is it's so annoying to get those 2 damage counters when you attack into this, especially if you put it on Pokemon that aren't going to get 1-hit KO'd, which means you have to attack into them multiple times in order to knock them out. So you're taking at least 4 damage counters. The damage counters add up, and putting this on top of a spell tag is just gross.
I have a question. Does this stack?
Yes, it does stack.
Jesus Christ.
It is gross.
Oh, all right, cool. Can't wait.
Can't wait. 80 damage plus spell tags. Love it.
Yeah, can you imagine you hit into this? You get 8 damage counters when you hit in. You knock it out. You get another 4 for a spell tag. It's just like, ugh. The thing is,
man,
I don't know if this is recoverable with Malamar. That would be one thing that would be interesting to read the card to Malamar. If Malamar says basic energy specifically, like basic psychic energy, or if it just says psychic energy, you could recycle these onto Giratinas. That would be disgusting.
that's so sad.
I don't know though. I haven't read I'm actually, you know what?
Double checking now.
So Malamar just says psychic energy card. So busted.
Oh God. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, okay. Hold on.
So psychic energy.
This might. This is interesting. So I think we're actually going to have to wait for a ruling on this, because actually this one and the other one may not count as a type of energy while they're not attached, because it says this card provides lightning energy while it's attached to a Pokemon.
You are right, Sean. You are right. That is the correct ruling. If we're going by expanded, which has a lot of these type of specific special energy cards for the type, that is correct. So it only becomes that energy type when it's attached to a Pokemon. Thank the Lord. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Preliminary ruling here from non-judges. It looks like this will not absolutely ruin the game. So thankfully. And that means the speed lightning energy you would not be able to use then with Tapu Koko Prism.
Correct. It has to be already attached. But once it's attached, then you can manipulate it as you want to.
Yes. Okay, cool. All right. Well, last card of the set, we have Capture Energy. Capture Energy says it provides colorless when it's attached. And when attaching this card from your hand to one of your Pokemon, search your deck for a basic and put it onto your bench. So, Tony, how do you feel about Capture Energy?
trying to, if I want to play colorless energy, right? I'm trying to understand or figure out rationale why I would play this over weakness guard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there's just so many ways to find basic Pokemon now with Quick Ball and other means. So if this came out during the last season, I would imagine it, you know, playing a lot more because we didn't have a way to find basic Pokemon. But now we just have too many. And if I'm going to attach a colorless energy, I'd rather do a weakness card. So that's where I'm at. I think it's degenerate, but even then, I don't think it's going to see too much play. Probably a couple of niche play.
All right. Val, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this card is almost trash because it is the inferior colorless energy. And colorless energy is, again, just not seeing a ton of play either. Very niche.
All right. Well, I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to put a stake in the ground on this one and say trash because I feel like we're all kind of feeling the same thing, which is at the current moment in time, you have Quick Ball, right? Like, do I need to find, like, by the time you find this card, like, this card is amazing early game. If you don't have this card probably until like the mid or the late game, you might have a full bench. And at that point, it's just a shitty colorless energy, right? Like crap colorless energy. So yeah, I'm going to put it in trash for now. Maybe there is a world in the future in which it's a necessary energy to run, but yeah, trash. But yeah, that is going to do it. That's all the trainers, all the special energies. Hopefully, we are going to get some consensus with some of the folks who might watch this. But thank you, Tony. Thank you, Val, for joining me and organizing all of these cards.
All right, thanks for having us. This is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll do this again, hopefully, when the next set comes out. But yeah, let me know if you like this style of organization. All right. Well, I will see y'all all in a future video.